President Obama will go down as perhaps the worst president in the history of the United States! Exclamation point at real Donald Trump. Well, at real Donald Trump, at least I will go down as a president.
Sean, welcome back to the program. Your takeaway thoughts really quickly on what happened in New York and Cincinnati. It seems like there is a concerted effort to sort of pull America apart at the seams. It's not good. It seems like the media is thirsty to blame President Trump, white people, stoke a new race war. They're like itching for it, aren't they?
Yeah, it's actually really kind of disappointing because I think we know at the root of all crime problems, you have an unsolvable problem, which is the fallen human condition. Doesn't make for a sexy news topic, doesn't make for really great hot takes or anything like that. Now, obviously, there's things you can do to reduce crime. You can put criminals in prison, for example. Criminals who are in prison cannot commit crimes against people who are not in prison. But it's really frustrating to watch the news, and they're trying to politicize and racialize everything. You know, if it's a white guy with a gun, then obviously guns are the problem and white people are the problem. If it's a black guy with a gun, it's the guns are a problem. If it's a black guy with a gun in New York City, let's be CNN and call him white. And it's just like, can you just give us the facts? Like, we're all adults. We know how to think. We can contextualize things on our own. But no, they have to shove their stupid agendas down our throats all the time. And it's freaking exhausting.
It's exhausting. It's exhausting to watch now the cover that they're running for the Russiagate hoax. And you should stand here very proud as the CEO and co-founder of perhaps the only publication on the internet that got it right. And you have an extensive history of calling this out at the Federalist. You've done some of the original reporting on Russiagate. This is a very proud moment for you, Sean. I've been enjoying your feed lately.
Well, thank you. It's nice to get credit from folks like you. I will say the only thing I actually want, I just want people to go to prison. If no one gives us credit ever again, and the trade-off for that is like Brennan and Comey go to prison, dude, I'm good forever. That's all I care about. Is that the bad people who try to destroy our country over this and who poison the minds of half the country for a generation, if not more, with their lies. The people behind that have to go to prison.
Sean, we're going to be joined by General Flynn in a bit. And you have an article right now, top of the Federalist. Declassified Susan Rice confirms Michael Flynn was personally targeted in Oval Office meeting. This is something that, as you talk about the victims of Russiagate, is like a good example, for instance, of a person that did nothing wrong and had his life destroyed and his children threatened to be thrown in prison. Can you talk us through what happened to General Flynn and what you've uncovered?
Yeah, they did destroy Michael Flynn's life. So what happens is Trump wins in 2016. He says that Michael Flynn, a decorated combat veteran, is going to be his national security advisor. And shortly after the election, about a month, Democrats in government just decided, yeah, we're really not going to let this guy take power peacefully. We are going to try and make sure he doesn't get inaugurated. We're going to try and destroy the lives of his staff. We're going to cripple his presidency. We're maybe even going to try and put him in prison. And the first person they targeted in this effort after Trump was Michael Flynn. And it was because of his position as national security advisor. They knew Susan Rice and Barack Obama and Joe Biden and Jim Comey and John Brennan and James Clapper. They knew that Michael Flynn, as the NSA, was going to be the one who had access to all of the things they were doing. They knew that he was going to see everything and that he was going to share it with Trump. And so what they did is they initially tried to run an op against him, only to find out on January 4th, 2017, 16 days before Trump was inaugurated, that the agents who they had tasked with looking into Flynn had actually exonerated him, said he did nothing wrong. He was operating completely by the book. There's nothing wrong with speaking to foreign representatives when you're the incoming member of an administration. And so on January 5th in the Oval Office, and we know partly about this because of a memo that Susan Rice wrote, they all decided that they were going to target Flynn, that they were going to prevent him from getting information he needed to serve the president and the American people, and that if necessary, they were going to destroy his life. And that plan was hatched in the Oval Office by Barack Obama and Joe Biden and that entire corrupt national security team. And they all need to go to jail. Everyone involved in this has to go to jail, or it's going to happen again and again and again.
Yes. Okay. So this is a great illustrative post, and let's pop it up here, about the ongoing illegal conspiracy. Now, Mike Davis was on our show last week, and he went thermonuclear viral. It's now become the narrative that he posited that because they are continuing to say they didn't do this, and they are continuing to conspire with networks like CNN, and you can see it openly on their network, that Russiagate is real. And even in Barack Obama's statement, Sean, he says, no, Russiagate is real, right? Like, he's continuing the conspiracy. You're saying that they're in severe legal jeopardy for this. Can you unpack that for us?
Absolutely. And by the way, this is a tactic that I learned from the left and the Mueller. So if they don't like it, sorry, these are the rules they created. Like they made this world and now we're going to live in it. They sowed and now we're going to reap. And how it goes is, it wasn't just that they committed crimes by what they did in the Oval Office that day, or the lies they told, or the documents and the evidence they fabricated. What they were actually doing was they were putting together a fraudulent conspiracy against the U.S. government and against the American people. And the thing about an ongoing conspiracy is that each additional act in furtherance of the conspiracy, that counts as a crime, as part of that conspiracy. So it doesn't matter that you may have started the original conspiracy in 2016 or 2017 or maybe even 2020. If you are still undertaking actions, if you are still doing overt things and saying things to obstruct, investigators finding out the truth, you are still acting in furtherance of that conspiracy. And each new overt act, like John Brennan or James Comey or Barack Obama coming out and trying to obstruct the truth on it, each overt act tolls the statute of limitations for when you can charge that conspiracy. So my advice to them is, you guys should keep talking. You should absolutely put out defiant statements every day about how you did nothing wrong and you definitely didn't fabricate evidence and you definitely didn't break the law. Keep doing it, because you're just making it easier for us. But at the end of the day, these people have to go to prison.
I appreciate the repetition of this. I like it. It works. They must go to prison. For what, Sean? You're very knowledgeable on this topic. You have friends at the DOJ. You have Molly Hemingway that works with you every single day, and she does some of the best reporting on this on Earth. And what would we be charging here? What would you advise?
Yeah, I think it's a conspiracy to defraud the United States. And in fact, there's kind of two ways you can look at it. Vis-a-vis Barack Obama. We know, based on a bunch of new documents that we've gotten, that there was a conspiracy from Comey and Brennan to cook the intel community assessment, to put things in there that were not true. And in the process of that, you could argue that they actually defrauded Obama. You could argue that maybe Barack Obama was a victim of their conspiracy, that he asked for information and he was actually lied to and defrauded. If you think maybe it's a bridge too far to go after Obama, okay, treat him as a victim. We know they were cooking the books against the advice and intel of their own experts. And not only did they defraud the American public, they defrauded Obama. But I give Bondi a lot of credit over at the AG's office for setting up what are called these new strike forces to look at this corruption. This is an interagency model that DOJ has used going back decades that was really put to great effect to go after the mob, to go after organized crime and racketeering. And I think that's the model that they're probably looking to use against this mob of corrupt intel officers and intel agents at the very top that were doing everything they could to cook up evidence, fabricate lies, defraud the president and the American people, and rip the country apart.
And you note that some of the subterfuge continued on through Trump term one. For instance, Comey held his position and was able to launch this conspiracy against the president from the inside. You have this spectacularly aged like a fine French wine, Sean, post here from 2020, you calling out Gina Haspel. She was, of course, the CIA director there in Trump term one. What did she do in furtherance of this conspiracy?
Well, Haspel is a fascinating character that she's largely avoided much scrutiny. I believe she was CIA station chief in London when these rumors that allegedly started the investigation against Trump in mid-2016 started coming through. We're told that it was intel from an Australian ambassador that was passed through the legal attaché at the embassy in London. And of course, we know that an embassy and the CIA, they kind of work hand in glove. So this came through her domain in 2016. It's how it allegedly started. And then we find out again in late 2020, before the election, by the way, that it was Haspel who was personally trying to block the release and declassification of key documents showing the world what actually happened. So a lot of what we got over this last week about the corrupt intel community assessment that just had lie after lie, it was Haspel, we were told back in 2020, who was personally blocking that. It was Haspel who was rooting, we were told, for Trump to lose so that she could evade accountability and continue to obstruct and hide these documents that we so desperately need to see.
So the conspiracy is vast, and you've mentioned a couple of key names, Brennan, Clapper, and Comey, that will, of course, be well known to this audience. Another name that you haven't mentioned, Sean, that you love to take an axe to is the name Clinton, Hillary Clinton. And you burned her in effigy on the show before. And I'm wondering, what does your reporting show about her culpability in all of this?
Oh, poor Hill Dog. So my favorite piece of news from last week that we learned in this declassified evisceration of the intel community assessment. Remember that we were being told that Russia wanted Trump to win. Now, the reality is that was never true. They were fully expecting Hillary to win. They were really just trying to be troublemakers. That's what they do. And we realized that had they actually wanted her to win, they would have dumped a bunch of derogatory information they had on her, that she was mentally unwell, that she was prone to fits of rage, that they had to keep her on tranquilizers so that she could be managed and functional each day. But what's fascinating is it was Hillary Clinton who funded this whole Russia collusion hoax from the beginning. It was the Clinton campaign and the Democrat National Committee who were funding the creation of that garbage Steele dossier. The dossier written by a guy who was, by the way, on the payroll of a sanctioned Russian oligarch, as he wrote it and accused Trump of being a Russian agent. But it was Hillary Clinton's campaign who funded this whole thing. And then when she lost, which no one expected, they decided to weaponize it, feed it into the FBI for good, and then use that to cripple Trump's first term as president.
So we have the reporting about this up right now. It's become quite clear that the Russians actually wanted Hillary to win, and the intelligence community assessment said the exact opposite. Now, Dan Bongino went viral this week by alluding to that's what he is looking into in his classified skiff as part of this strike force. It was the most viral post on X this week. If Hillary Clinton, and again, Sean, I just went to community college, so I don't know, but I can read the definition of treason. If Hillary Clinton definition of treason is using a foreign adversary in order to usurp the will of the people in your own nation, in order to do damage to your own country, often from the inside. Hillary Clinton is using Russian spies that are on the payroll of Russian oligarchs who are sanctioned in order to sow absolute discord and to kneecap a duly elected president. Sure as hell sounds like treason to me, Sean.
Well, yeah, again, I like using the rules that the left has constructed. So we warn them when they do these things that it'll come back to bite you. We heard ad nauseum for years that Donald Trump himself committed treason when he went on January 6th and gave a speech and said, hey, people protesting and demonstrating, you need to be peaceful, respect the police, we love the police. We were told that was treason. So that's our new bar. Sorry, like I didn't create the rules. I wanted a different set of rules and tried to get them for years. So I didn't create these rules. The left did. And those are the rules now. So either we're going to have two sets of rules where they do whatever we want, and then, you know, we get thrown in jail or accused of treason when we say things like, hey, be peaceful, or we're going to use their own rules against them. So like they made their beds and now they're going to lie in them, as far as I'm concerned.
Man, Julie Kelly was on here saying, please, I'm begging you, like, use the seditious conspiracy charges that they brought against Enrique Tarrio, who wasn't even there on January 6th. And they were able to wrap up, I think, 22 convictions during January 6th for seditious conspiracy. First time that's been charged since the Civil War. So why the hell not? You know, really would be fate loves irony moment in order to charge
shoes
Brennan.
On the other foot.
Yeah, that's right. All right, final parting bit here, Sean. What would be your recommendation to these strike forces, given all of the available evidence that you've done reporting on? Would you recommend charges? You would recommend charges for Brennan, Comey, and Clapper. Would you include Hillary in that? What would be sort of your list here? Like, where would you like to see it go from here?
I think the greatest punishment that Hillary will ever face is not prison. It's waking up every day knowing she'll never be president because Donald Trump beat her. So I actually would set her aside because she wasn't in government when all this happened. And I have a distinction between the people who use the powers of the government to destroy lives and then just the randos who were completely janked out on horse tranks like Hillary. Will set her aside. The people who are using our government to hold us hostage, those are the people that have to go to prison, whether it's Peter Strzok or Lisa Page or Andy McCabe or Comey. I think those are who people should focus on. And I think Hillary should just live in a prison of her own mind, knowing she's never, ever going to be president. And that's good for me.
A prison where the bars are box wine Chardonnay and horse tranquilizers.
Horse tranks.
Yeah. Okay. I can see that. I can see it. Maybe we could build that prison on Epstein Island. She'd be right at home. Okay. Everybody follow Sean, obviously. Sean Davis. You most likely already follow him, but he is just the guy who is body checking the fake narratives in this nation with his excellent publication, a must read every single morning, The Federalist. He's got 600,000 subscribers on X, and you must be one of them. Thank you, Sean.
Thank you, sir. Take care.